Good morning, ladies. I think we're all ladies. Yes, we're all ladies. Good morning, ladies. Thank you very much for coming to this session. Today's session is one of the Settles Summer Teaching Institute, and this particular session is looking at, we're looking at teaching with 21st century technologies, and this particular session looks at badge-based feedback. I want to welcome all of us for coming. And I would, I'm Michelle Stewart-McKoy, your faculty educational developer in the Center for Excellence in Teaching and Learning. I am joined today by our very faithful administrative support, Miss Barkley, Miss Natasha Barkley. Natasha, I don't know if you want. Miss Barkley?
Mrs. Stewart-McKoy, you're going in and out for some reason.
Oh, it's the internet. I'm in the office. Give me 1 second, please. I'm going to see if I can stop this and restart. I may get bumped for a minute, but I'll be right back. I'm going to see if I can switch over to the hotspot. Give me a minute, please. Okay, so let's try this. Did you lose me? Am I still in the room? Are you hearing me?
We can hear you.
Okay, great, great. So did I leave any at all?
Not that I can see.
No,
Okay.
you didn't.
All right. All right, great. Okay, so as I was saying, welcome. Good morning. Thank you very much for coming. I am Michelle Stewart-McKoy. I will be taking us through this session today. It's one of our summer institute. And so this particular one is focusing on teaching with 21st century technologies, and we are looking particularly at batch-based feedback. I am joined today by Miss Barkley, Miss Natasha Barkley. She is our administrative support or new administrative support. And I was inviting Miss Barkley to open her mic and just say a word or two, please.
Yes, thanks, Mrs. Stewart-McKoy. Good morning, everyone. I'm delighted to be here with you. And anything that you need, feel free to put it in the chat and I'll address it as best as possible. All right, enjoy the session.
Thank you, Ms. Barkley. So as Ms. Barkley said, if you have any queries, I'm going to be sharing screen in a few, and in full screen mode, I tend not to see very clearly the chat or the activity that are going on. So Ms. Barkley will be monitoring for us. It is a workshop, but it's an engaging and an interactive workshop. So if as we go along, there is anything you need some assistance with, please let us know so that I can stop, slow down, repeat whatever it is necessary. My name is Michelle, and for me, I am quite fine with you using my first name. I have no issues there. So I'm just letting you know that. And the second thing is I am using 2 monitors. So if you see me turn away, it's because I'm looking at the second monitor. All right. So it's not that you're not engaging and not enjoying your presence. It's just that I'm using a second monitor. So are there any questions before we start? I'm going to start sharing in a few.
Good morning. Yes, this is Melissa, Michelle.
Hi.
Do we need to have access to an online course right this moment to be actively engaged?
No.
Oh, wonderful. Okay.
No, we'll think about a course, but you don't necessarily need to. I mean, you're going to be working in groups. So what I needed to find out, how many persons have access to the VLE? You can raise your hand. Nobody? I'm not seeing any hands up. Okay, I see 1, 2. Miss Barkley, could you pay attention to these hands? Because it means that we'll have to ensure that there is at least one person who has access to the VLE in each of the rooms when we do the breakout rooms. Right? And that's for
Oh,
later
okay.
on. But keep the hands up. So if your hand came off, just put it back so that Miss Barkley can do a quick capture so that we can know how to set up the breakout rooms, because we want everybody to be able to see and engage. All right. So I'm going to start sharing my screen and sharing my presentation.
You can lower your hands. Thank you so much.
Great, thanks. All right, so you should be able to see my screen. So we're looking at badge-based feedback. We're designing visual cues for learners. And one of the things that I wanted to point out right up, we have done workshops on badges before. So we have done workshops on setting up a system, a tier system. We have never really gone in. It was more of a seminar. And we have done workshops on creating badges when we had the platform badge.s. This session marries both. So we're looking at a little bit of theory. We're going to be creating some badges. We're going to be putting together a tier system, and then we're going to go into the VLE so that we can actually set up our badges that we have planned out and developed. So that's one of the reasons why this is also a 3-hour session and not a 1 hour or a 1.5. All right. Okay. So when we talk about badge-based feedback, we note that there is the matter of feedback. All right. So feedback is important, more so in the online space. So even if we have face-to-face sessions, having an online complement or having our courses where we direct the students to an online space, the feedback becomes important. And why is this feedback in the online space important? Well, in the first place, when we talk about the role of the feedback in the learning process, we talk about things like the whole formative assessment and giving feedback, because this is important for students to know where they are in order to move on. We talk about the connection between regular feedback that the student gets and their engagement. The more feedback students get, the more the literature tells us that they become more engaged. And of course, there is the matter of the impact on student motivation and self-regulation. So when students get this kind of guidance from us in the online space, they then become more motivated, and then they can see how better to regulate themselves. We have to also, when we talk about the importance of feedback, we have to talk about the challenges that exist in the online environment. So in the online environment, you know that the teacher presence isn't there, and students don't necessarily communicate in that kind of ways that they do in the face-to-face class. So there is a matter of the absence of the face-to-face interaction of the facilitator usually. There is the potential for delayed responses. And for those of us who work in the online space, you know, sometimes it takes us quite a while before we give feedback to students. And then sometimes it's difficult to capture that kind of nuanced feedback when you're working in the online space. And speaking of that, in tomorrow's session, we're going to be looking at using voice and video comments to give feedback to students. So we can, you know, we can actually provide students with more nuanced feedback. Now, the benefits of effective feedback in the VLE. We all have this virtual learning environment that we are currently using. Moodle 4, very nice in terms of what it facilitates. And so in the VLE, we can give personalized learning experiences to our students. We can increase student autonomy depending on, of course, how we word our feedback. We can improve students' learning outcomes, because if we're able to give the kinds of feedback, you know, whatever model we're using, whatever strategy we have decided that we are comfortable with, we need to be able to ensure that these benefits play themselves out when we give feedback in the online space, in the virtual learning environment. And then when we talk about the feedback gap in online learning, one of the things that we find is that because in the face-to-face, there's a traditional versus the needs of the online. And so in a traditional, we tend to mark on a paper and give comments. We can't really do that that easily. We can do it, but not that easily in a face-to-face. And so we need to think about the needs of our learners, our learners. I mean, we keep hearing that we're operating in a different culture, that these students are different from the kind of culture that we're used to. And so we have to think about things like the social aspect of it, the game-based playing aspect of it. And so this helps us to look at the gap between what we consider to be traditional methods in giving feedback and the methods that align more with the needs of our students. So the badge-based feedback is an opportunity for us to be innovative in our feedback delivery. All right. So when we talk about badge-based feedback, what exactly are we talking about? Well, in teaching and learning circles, it's an educational strategy that uses digital badges to do a number of things, to recognize, to assess, and to motivate our learners. If you think about it carefully, it's a kind of micro-credentialing. So it provides visual representation of learner skills, achievement, knowledge, and so if I mean, badges. I don't know how many of us have ever received the badges, but essentially when we give this kind of visual recognition based on students' skills, knowledge, and achievements, we are using, well, within a badge, we are using badge-based feedback. Now, what are the components of a badge base? Because we're operating in an online space, they're digital badges. All right, so that's the first thing. So we may be we may be familiar with the physical badges. So I call them analog, the physical badges that you pin onto yourself or that you can hold. The digital badges are usually online, so they are distributed in an online platform. They tend to represent specific accomplishments or specific skill sets. They tend to be very clear, they have their requirements that are clearly set out, so you know exactly what it is that you need to do in order to get this badge. They have some kind of information attached to them that tell you that, okay, this is how you're going to earn the badge. So in order for you to get this badge, you must be able to do these things. And usually the badges have an issuer. So the issuer can be you, the facilitator, you, the supervisor, or it can be the educational institution. But whoever it is or whatever it is, that's the issuer. And so how do we capitalize on digital badges? How exactly do they work? If you think about the physical badges, you have to do something you have to complete it and complete it well in order to get the badge. So achievement is an aspect of it. And then what the accomplishment does is that it makes you now take a look at, okay, in order to get this badge, have you successfully done this thing? Okay. And then if the student has met or the participant has met those criteria, then the badge is issued to the learner and it is showcased. All right. So usually for the physical one, you wear it on your uniform, or you put it somewhere in your book or on your folder. For the digital badges, they're usually displayed on the student profile. So on the VLE, you'll realize that, when we test it, you'll realize that your badge actually turns up on your profile, and you can put it on your dashboard because the VLE that we currently have allows us to do a number of things as individual learners. So you can, walk your students through how exactly they can set up their latest badges on their dashboard. And they can put it on their websites and their social media sites and so forth. And if these badges are what we call open badges that are earned with different institutions, you will find them. So if you do a search for me, you'll realize that I have a gamification badge that comes out of the University of Pennsylvania when I did their gamification course. All right. Now, some of the characteristics of digital-based badges, well, badge-based feedback is that it's granular. All right. What do we mean by that? It recognizes the smaller units of learning or of achievement. It is immediate. As soon as the criteria is met, you can get this. It is motivational because it provides visible markers of progress of the learner or the participant. It's flexible. You can adjust them. You can customize them for different learning context, and they are portable. You know, they can be shared across different platforms all at the same time. So these are some of the things that we need to, oh, I think I jumped a little bit. Okay, that's fine. All right. No, there are, just as how there are benefits, there are also challenges with setting up or badges for feedback. So some of the benefits, as you would have heard, you know, increase motivation because it provides clear goals and recognition. So, you know, the students get all fired up. In some cases, they provide personalized learning paths that allow students to pursue areas of interest. I have not really ventured into personalized learning path in the current VLE. It is something that I'm interested in, and I'll be testing that out to see if the digital badges could work there. Another benefit is skill visibility. So it makes the skills that you have learned more apparent to the learners, to your teachers, and to others. So on the VLE, you know, anybody who goes on and looks at your profile can see the badges that you have acquired and then are able to speak to the kinds of skill sets that you have, which is going to take us to the point of, you know, strategically creating badges so that they demonstrate the skills that the student's badge says they have. Another benefit is the whole matter of continuous assessment. So you can have ongoing evaluation of the progress of students using the badges. And then there is a gamification. Some persons refer to it as gamification. So you can add game-like elements to the learning experience. And if your students tell you that they are, you know, game players, that they like to watch interactive activities, this is definitely a strong benefit for your class and your students. Of course, there are drawbacks, there are challenges. So design complexity, you know, when you're creating meaningful badges, the system can be time consuming and it may require some skill sets that you have to fine tune or learn. You have the potential for trivialization. So if you over badge, meaning that you give a badge for everything, it diminishes the value of the badge. The badge is supposed to be something that your student crave and value. So if you give a badge for everything, then it becomes trivial and they're not interested in it anymore. And then, of course, there is a matter of technical implementation. So you have to have the right kind of technological infrastructure. The good thing with the new VLE is that it is set up in such a way that you can integrate it into an open badge backpack. You can set it up with all the different things. So most of that has been put in place for us. You still have to learn, though, the basic technical aspect. And then, of course, there's a matter of acceptance. Not all institutions, not all departments, not all units, not all supervisors, not all facilitators recognize badges or accept them as a part of the learning process, right? So these are just a few benefits. There are more and challenges, but I'm just skimming on the top. Now, when we consider education, educational context, and the application in educational context, we can see a number of areas where this could be applicable. So for course completion, we can recognize the completion of a course or module or unit or you know, just using a badge or using a tiered badge system where we can see that. There is the recognition of skill mastery. So we can acknowledge skill proficiency or competencies in specific skills like coding, for our computer students, lab techniques, critical thinking, that sort of thing. And then well, critical thinking belongs to soft skill development, really. So leadership, teamwork, critical thinking, that kind of thing within this. And then of course there's engagement. For us in teaching and learning, engagement is a major factor. And so when we consider the application of badges and badge-based feedback in education, there is the matter of engagement. So we reward participation in discussion, collaborative activities, and so forth. And for us as facilitators, there is the matter of professional development, tracking and showcasing ongoing learning for our educators. So one of the things that we need to bear in mind as we work through badges and badge-based feedback is that badge-based feedback is representing what we call a shift towards a more granular, more visible, and more motivational forms of assessment and recognition in education. And so when we think and implement it thoughtfully, strategically, it can enhance our learners' engagement. It can provide detailed feedback. It can create a more comprehensive picture of the learner's skill sets and achievement in your course or in other courses in a program that the student is doing. All right. Any questions at this point? Any comments? Open your mic, please.
Morning, Mrs. McCoy.
Michelle, please.
Okay, morning, Michelle. All right, as it relates to the research surrounding
All right. I
how...
don't know who is talking, so you have to tell
Oh,
me
sorry
who's
about that.
talking.
Heather Thompson.
Hi, Heather.
Hi. All right, so as it relates to the research surrounding how impactful this digital badge base, do you have any information about that, how students respond to it?
Yes, man, there is a lot of literature out there. I can provide you with a list. So there's literature coming out of some of the Ivy League universities, and more universities are using and giving feedback on how they have set it up and how they have used it. So I can provide you with a list. In fact, I'll provide everybody with a list of what the research says, and how it has been used, and a few projects that have been used exclusively. I don't know if you were at the Digital Pedagogies for Sustainable Development conference some last year.
No.
And okay, that's fine. The keynote speaker, they have a very robust badge-based and micro-credentialing program at their institution. I'm looking at the name of the institution, and it's right at the tip of my tongue and it's slipping me. And so I will also share that link about what it is they do, how they do it, and how well it has been working for them. So that will help you, Heather.
Great, awesome. Thank you.
Thank you. Anybody else? No? All right.
Good morning, Michelle. Good morning.
Yes.
Yes, I'm just thinking about
help me. Name?
Andrea.
I'm not seeing anything. Okay.
Andrea Norman McPherson. Yes,
Hi, Andrea.
yes, I'm just thinking about large classrooms. I'm hoping that this session will help me in terms of when you have large numbers of students, and I'm sure because you mentioned criteria and so on, that should be useful in deciding how we give the badges.
All right, so one of the things that I need to remind us is that we're focusing on the digital aspect. So it doesn't really matter how large your class is. Once you're using the VLE, you can manage that. If for whatever reason you only have a face-to-face class and your class is large, then I think it will take a little bit more creativity out of us so that we can then say, how best do we reach the students? Because the thing is this, they still have to carry out the task that you would have had based on the learning outcomes, all right? It is simply creating these badges to award certain points in the teaching and learning process that's based on the learning outcomes. So I would not be overly concerned about the size of the class, unless of course you're going to be issuing physical badges. Does that help?
Yes, and I'm sure as I go along, I'll be you know.
So let me ask you a question,
Thank you.
Andrea.
Yes.
Your classes do your classes have a BLE component complement any at all?
Yes, we have the resources on the VLE on the VLE for the students. Yes, we do. And my classes this semester will be a little bit more virtual
Okay.
than before. So I'm really interested in implementing this.
Okay, so in your online, it makes it a little bit easier because it means that once you set it up and set it up so that you can decide if it's going to be manually awarded or if it's going to be automatically awarded. Once the students have successfully completed these, then it would be, it goes into this automation. And
Yes.
so the badge would be awarded. So it doesn't matter the size of the students.
Okay. Good.
Javon, I see your hand is raised. Go ahead. I actually saw Javon's hand.
Hi, morning, Michelle. Morning, colleagues.
Good morning.
I was thinking a little bit about, the implementation of badges and if that would best require as well, like some kind of department or faculty level discussion in terms of when and how, like for what do you give a badge? Like, I just imagining that, an instructor that's very liberal with the giving of badges, and a student say, well, I have 10 badges in econ, and then another one,
Right?
I only have 2 badges in accounts, but probably those 2 badges in accounts really took a lot more effort than the 10 in econ. So in terms of some, at least relatively loose standardization, I get the idea that the badges shouldn't be a form of like, strict, the most formal type of assessment, but still,
Yes.
it's a difficult balancing act, I can imagine.
All right, so I'm glad you mentioned the implementation. I actually have a little template and we're going to do an activity that's based on it because yes, it has to be, well, it doesn't have to be something that is done at the faculty or unit level, but it is better because then you have a collective thought process going on in terms of what you're going to award badges for, how many badges you're going to be awarding, the difficulty level, where what's going to be the starting point, where we're going to end in terms of the complexity, at what points do we award in the tiered system. So we are going to be looking at that. And yes, we have to think strategically about, within a program, within a department, how do we ensure that, as Javon said, one student don't have 10 badges, and then of course we run the risk of the trivialization because the badges begin to lose value as against 2 badges. So we're going to be looking at that in a few. I see another hand. Thank you, Javon. I see another hand. Audra. It's
Yes,
Audra,
good
right?
morning. This is Audra. Good morning, everyone. Good morning, Michelle. Like for me, how would I get my students, or do you have any suggestions as to how I could get my students interested in this? Because they're adults and they might see it as something that is childish. I don't know. But how can I create that interest for my students? So, it's a good thing for you to have this badge or these badges.
Thanks for the question. Well, one of the things that I do is that I usually ask a couple of questions the first time I meet my students. So whether my students are undergrad, postgrad, or faculty, I tend to ask a couple of questions. So I say, are you onto social media? Do you like that sort of thing? If I were to use badges, would you be interested in it? What I have learned from my face-to-face order is that once I have a couple of activities that require effort, thought processes, critical thinking, and effort, the minute I distribute a badge to a series of to a set of persons who have done exceptionally well or who have improved, because a badge doesn't necessarily mean that it has to be top tier excellence at all time. It can be improvement or consistency, that sort of thing. What I have found is that the others tend to rush. They won't do these things. They pay closer attention. So this is what I have found out over the years. This is my experience. But one thing you could do, you could ask them, say to them, if we were to award badges, and the badges don't have to look as childish as this one. You use the clip art, but you have badges that have that kind of rich look and feel to them. So for most of our students, I have found that this is a symbolism. So if it looks rich, they may be more interested. But it's more than just saying, I want to use badges. What do you think? You know, you also have to tie that into the learning process, your activities and your assessment. But usually start out with asking them a question. If they play games, if they're on social media, if they're doing the TikTok, if they're into interactives, if they're doing H5Ps and they're doing all of these things, the likelihood is that they would be interested in badges. All right, Javon, your hand is up. Is that an old hand
No,
or
it's
is
a
that
new
new?
one, but it's a really quick comment, and because
Go
I
ahead.
you saw the analogy earlier to like actual physical badges that students wear and the digital badges, and I work with academic development committee with a high school, and we did some physical badges, and the kids weren't wearing them, and the reason was simply that they looked childish, they looked too playful. It wasn't that they didn't like badges, they just looked like cartoon. And so I think definitely if it's something that looks professional and sleek and nice, then
Exactly.
the students will like it. But if it looks
Mhm.
too toyish and playful, then that could be a problem.
Yes, and then I mean it also depends on the level of your students. If your students are primary school, lower school, they probably won't, it won't matter to them. But the more mature they become, the more you have to think about what should it look like. Should I go for photographs as against icons? So these are some of the things that we'd have to think about, but it means getting to know your students. Thank you very much for that, Japan. All right. So in order for us to use badge-based feedback, it means that we'd have to create some badges. All right. So when we're creating badges, there are a couple of things that we need to think of. We need to think, first of all, of the principles of effective feedback. All right. So when you think about giving feedback to your students, you have to think about timeliness. So the importance of prompt feedback becomes critical. How the badges can provide instant recognition, that is going to be something that's important. And then we think about specificity, moving from beyond the generic praise. So linking the badges to specific learning objectives. So in all our courses, every time we teach, we have a set of learning outcomes that we want our students to be able to achieve. And so if we can link our badges, and ideally, if we can link our badges to the higher order ones, you know, so we talk about the higher order thinking skills. So if we can link our badges to those, that would also be good for us. And then we talk about something that we call actionability, which simply means that you provide improvement, you know, you provide guidance for improvement. So you use the badge to suggest the next step in learning, where this is possible. And on the VLE, the new VLE, there are spaces where we can actually input this kind of information. And then there is positivity. So we focus on the achievement rather than on the shortcomings of the students. So we use the badges to celebrate milestones, you know, we celebrate the small steps. You have reached here, congratulations. Our badges should be clear. So clarity is another principle that we need to think about. So we have to ensure that the feedback is easily understood, that the badges are designed with clear meaning, that the colors are not confusing, that there's not too much text that you can't really see what is going on. So these sort of thing, it has to be clear and it has to be consistent. So maintaining basic standards across the course or across courses. So you have an ecosystem, if you will, a coherent badge ecosystem. And so the point that Javon made becomes important here, having the faculty or the departmental level involvement and discussion where you have that kind of ecosystem set up across the courses that you teach. You know, these are some of the things that you have to think about. And then of course, there is the relevance, aligning the feedback with the course goals and ensuring that the badges reflect valuable skills and valuable knowledge. So these are just a few principles of the effective feedback when we're thinking about customizing and creating our badges. The other thing that we have to think about is the visual design aspect. So simplicity, importance of a clean, uncluttered design. So it doesn't matter if you're going to use a cartoon look or if you're going to use a real world or a 3D look. It has to be clean. It has to be uncluttered. You can use minimalist icons for quick recognition, or you can use minimalistic looking 3D images or photographs to get that kind of quick recognition. And then we have to think about the psychology of color. So we have to think about colors that, where possible, reflect the badge's meaning, and colors that help to create a hierarchy or categorization. So in the case of tiered badges, if we're thinking of having elementary, intermediate, advanced, or something like that, you may want to ensure that all your badges that are at the elementary level or at the beginner level are a particular color. And all those that are in the intermediate, they're of a particular color. And those that are at the advanced or the master level, they're of a particular color. And I'm going to bring this up later, but another thing is that when you're doing this, don't just thrust it on the students one day and say, surprise, you're using badges. Ensure that it is integrated. So we talk about strategic, and I'll use the term several times. Ensure that you work this into your plan when you're thinking about implementation. How are you going to inform the students that you're going to be using badges? Where do you put it? Do you have a separate sheet? Do you put it as an announcement on the VLE? Do you work it into the course outline or the course guide that the students get? So these are some of the things that you need to bear in mind. And then when we talk about the typography, you have to ensure that the sort of fonts that you use are readable. So you ever see those fonts that you have to squint up your face, or you zoom the thing so much and you still can't see it? We need to use fonts that are readable, and using a text size, that is comfortable for students who may also have challenges with seeing. When we're using font size, we also need to bear in mind, if this is something that is of importance, then you would put this part a little bit bigger than the rest of it. For iconography, that is simply talking about having a consistent visual language. So it doesn't necessarily mean using icons all the time, but it is ensuring that the visuals are consistently used, and that whatever it is you use is something that is memorable and it is meaningful, not necessarily to you, the creator or the facilitator, but to the persons, the recipient of the badge. So I'm going back to the comment that Javon made, that, the students weren't wearing these physical badges because they look too cartoony. So these are some of the things. And there's nothing wrong with having a quick question, okay, we're going to be using badges, but there are a couple of things that I need to know. I'm going to be using 3 levels, beginners, advanced, what have you. Help me with the color code. So we tend not to involve our students a lot, even though what we're doing is for them. So we tend to find that the student voice continues to be silenced in a number of matters that are relating to students. And so I suggest we involve the students more. Get them involved. Ask them, would you want to see icons as against photographs? Would you want a 3D look? Do you want, what colors do you think we should be aiming for? That sort of thing. All right. And then when we talk about scalability, we're talking about making sure that the badges, when we create them, that they look good at if we zoom them out. So I don't know if you ever go on Google and you find an image and you pick the image from the thumbnail rather than going to where the image is housed. You click the image from the thumbnail and you download it and put it in your presentation or in your document. And then when you zoom it up, you realize that all you're seeing are pixels. This is something that we should try to avoid even for our badges. And then, of course, when we talk about scalability as well, we need to think about how the badges will appear on various devices. So you want to ensure that on your laptop, it's a pretty decent size, and on your mobile device is also something that you can see all of it, not just a piece of it or the end part. So these are some of the things that we need to think about when we talk about scalability. And of course, we probably don't need to worry about most of these things, because we have sites that create badges that provide us with templates that we can use. But if we're creating them from scratch, I tend to create mine from scratch when I create my badges. These are some of the things that you need to bear in mind. And then there are two more points, branding and accessibility. When we talk about visual design as it relates to branding, we're talking about incorporating institutional or course branding elements. So at the institutional level, you know that there are policies guiding the use of the university logo and all of those things. So please ensure that if you're going to go that route where whatever it is you're using uses the university's actual logo, you need to ensure that you follow the protocol. If you're thinking that, you know, within the course, the course has a particular, so let me do Spanish. I used to teach Spanish. So if my courses are Spanish courses, I may have a consistent brand. So for me, I usually use the Spanish as my go-to place for my examples and so forth. And so I tend to pull from the sombrero or the piñata, those colors, and use them consistently. So this is something that you can think of. Every time a student see this, there is a little sombrero and I use these colors right across. This is a part of the branding. But of course, you know, you may have a particular color scheme that you work with that has become your brand. And so you would want to consider this when you are thinking about the badge. And when I say you, I mean your department or the faculty in which you operate. If you're doing this with a one-off with your students, this is something that you could consider also. And for accessibility, we need to think about students who may have challenges with colors, ensure that your badges can work without color cues. So if you have a badge that represents something in particular, make sure that if a student can't see the color, the badge doesn't lose its meaning or its value. All right. One of the things that we say when we create badges is that they should represent or display actionable feedback. So when we talk about our badge-based feedback, we want to ensure that there is that actionable feedback aspect. And what does that look like? If we're looking at something like skill mastery, okay, you may want to come up with a badge that you call Python expert. I don't know why I have decided to go here. I am not a computer or coding expert. And so this coding expert badge would be for demonstrating something like advanced coding skills. And the criteria for that would be something like ensuring, oh dear, I'm jumping, sorry. Gone to the activities before it's time for the activities. All right, and so the criteria for something like that would be successfully completing a complex program challenge or something like that. If you're talking about things like milestones, it could be successfully reaching 75% of the course completion, and therefore that kind of feedback would be celebrating the progress and encouraging continuation. If it's about behavior, if you're thinking of badges that represent behavior, you could probably give a badge for collaboration. And, it could be a collaboration badge for outstanding teamwork, excellent teamwork, and therefore positive peer evaluations in group project could be the criteria, that students give positive or that the peer evaluations are well critiqued. And there are so many different types of categories that you can think of. For problem solving badges, you could think for out of the box, you could probably have one for, thinking out of the box in order to solve the puzzle. So coming up with creative solutions. And then of course the feedback would be something like, this kind of creative solution badge would encourage students' innovative approaches to tackling assignments. So there are different ways that you can display this actionable feedback in your badges. All right, so we are going to take a quick 5-minute break. And then we are going to do an activity. We're actually going to create. So I'm going to walk us through creating. For those of us who are not very familiar with creating badges, we're going to actually create a badge, but we're going to design it first using a basic template. And then we are going to share ours and talk about what it is. All right. So very quickly, Ms. Barkley, if you could pause the recording, just a 2-minute break, get up from the device, stretch, go get some water and come back. It's almost an hour, and so thank you very much, Lady Barkley. You know, I forgot your name a while ago. All right, so I am going to share my screen again. So at this point, there are a few things we're going to do. All right. So the first thing that we're going to do is that I have asked Ms. Barkley to share a document with you. All right. Now the document is it's it's a custom badge design. All right. So Ms. Barkley, if you could share that in the chat. I will open my screen so that you can see what that looks like. All right. So essentially, even though we are going to be creating badges, we want to ensure that we have thought it through properly. So this is just simply meant to help us. So you're going to put the course that you're doing it for, all right? And we're going to do this in a group, but if you were able to do this individually, this is what you would do. But we're working in a group. So you're going to decide on the course that you're going to work on. You're gonna give the badge a name. So we're gonna try and do 2 badges, all right? If you can, if not, 1 works. So you're gonna give the badge a name. You're going to talk about the visual design. So you're gonna describe what the badge would look like, so that if you're not the person creating it and somebody else is, they have a basic idea. Then you're gonna create what the badge is gonna look like. Then you're going to say what it is that the badge represents. And then you outline what is it that the student must do in order to get this badge, what are the criteria, right? Of course, one of the things that you would have to do is think about the course and think about the learning outcomes for the course in order for you to think about the criteria. And how does this provide with what we call actionable feedback? Okay, so this is what you're going to discuss as you go through. And then remember that when we talk about actionable, I'm sorry, when we talk about actionable feedback, what we're thinking about is, what does the badge do? So does the badge encourage students to develop and apply critical thinking skills in different activities? Does it, outline that in order, whatever it is that the students are going to do, the criteria, that these things point to critical thinking. So that is what we're talking about when we talk about actionable feedback. All right. So Ms. Barkley, have you shared that?
Yes, it's currently in the chat, custom badge.
All right. Please click on it and see if you can open it for me, please. So any one person can tell me that, yes, I have opened it and I'm good.
I've
So
opened
please.
it. Once it downloads, you can open it.
Yes, but sometimes it downloads and people get an error. So I
Oh,
usually
I had
ask,
to save
can
it.
you
I had to
open
save
it?
it first,
Yes,
though.
man, you would have to save it. You'd have to
Okay,
save it.
yeah.
Okay, great. So the next thing that we're going to do, we're actually going to go to a site where we can create our badges. All right. There used to be this excellent site called badge.es, badg.es. It seems as if they're out of commission, so they're not working with us anymore. So what I am doing now, I am sharing with us some places where we can actually create our badges. So let me start at the end. In terms of getting images to put into our badges, you can use a number of places. So if you have a particular symbol that you want to be on your badge, you can come to Pixabay. I like Pixabay. Pixabay provides us with free, royalty-free images and sounds and so forth. But I usually say still, if you can, indicate that where you have gotten your images. All right. And so with Pixabay, you can source photographs, illustration, vectors, okay, in terms of the images. So if I want a golden ball and I leave it at all images, I can find these things. Okay, so I can find, oh, that's sponsored. So I can find these images. Please know that there is a sponsored section. If you click on these, you have to pay. The ones that are below tend to be the free ones. Okay, so you can do a search here. And when you find some, yeah, so things like these I was looking for. So I need to be more specific in what it is that I ask it for. You can then determine that you're going to put this on your badge or not. So this is one place that you can go. I tend to use Raw Pixel sometimes as well. And Raw Pixel has a free and a paid version. And the free aspect gives you quite a bit of images and so forth. So if I'm looking for a golden ball, I'm going to do the same thing for it. All right, so it gives you these, and then the background here tells you that these are what do you call that, transparent. So these are images that you don't have to worry about coming up with the background. And the ones that have the little crown, these are the paid ones. So you can go through, and then if you see something that you're happy with, you simply click on it. You can determine the size, so you can determine if you want medium or if you want small. Click on it and download it. The PNG tells you that it's a transparent background. So I use that as well. If you're more for the icons, as in the cartoony look and so forth, you can come to Flat Icon. I use Flat Icon a lot, and Flat Icon give me stickers as well as icons, because these are going to go onto a badge. You can then decide what it is that you want. So if I do a search for, I don't know if I'm going to find golden ball here, but I'll put it in. It says it at 58. All right, so these are what came up, and then I can simply, how do I use that? I click on it. I can use the download, but if I come here, I can decide the size that I want. So I can decide the size of the image, and you'll realize that it also has it in black and white and hand-drawn versions. So those are 3 sites in terms of the images that you can use if you want something that's more realistic and photo or 3D. You can use Pixabay, you can use Raw Pixel. And then of course there are other sites. There's Free PNG, there's Vecteezy, there are a number of different sites that allow you to use images that are royalty free. All right, so you can have free images there. So that's one of the things that we need to. Now there are 2 places that well, there are a number of other places that you can use to create badges, but I've selected 2 for ease of use. So one is Canva badge logo maker, and it's free, so you don't have to have an account to do this. And if you go to canva.com, create logos badges, I'm gonna share this in the chat so you have access to that. This is one place where we can create a badge. So we're gonna create a badge together. The beautiful thing about it is that you can create from scratch, or you can look through what they have. So let us all go to Canva, create, so that we can actually create a badge together. Okay, and it doesn't matter if you are already a badge creator and you have the expertise. Let's go through the activity together so that you can have your muscle memory kicking. So let me know when you're there, and when you're there, click on make a badge logo. Are we there? Let me know, please.
I'm there.
Okay, thank you. What about the rest of us?
Yes.
I'm there.
All right. So so we're using Canva. And so we're using the logo maker for badges. Now, one of the things that you can do, you can scroll through. So you end up with a blank screen, but you can actually work from templates that are there. So you can scroll through, and if there's something that you see that you like, you can click on it and use it as a starting point. All right. So we're gonna create a badge. I see things popping up. Oh, okay. So are we there now? Is everybody with us?
Sorry, no, it seems I have an account, so it's prompting me, and so I have to figure out what my account is.
Oh, you have an account?
It seems
All
so,
right.
but obviously I haven't used it in a while so it's not allowing me to just go forward. It's,
All right. So
I'm just trying to get to it.
Are the rest of us in? I'd forgotten to mention that you probably would have to, it may prompt you to sign up if you haven't signed up.
Yes, that's what it's doing now. So I'm trying to check.
All right, so I'll just give us a few minutes. I forgot completely that it more than likely would have prompted you.
Yeah, I didn't have an account, but I logged in, or I went on the same browser that I have Google logged in. So I just click continue.
So you use the Google
and
login,
it just automatically use the Google account. So that might be the easiest way for persons who.
For persons. Right. So you have continue with Google. Thanks, Javon. You have continue with Google, and I think continue with Live. I think there's another one, or Facebook or something else. It gives you 2 or 3 options that you can continue with or sign up.
I'm there.
All right. What about the rest of us? I'm giving us another minute.
It's not allowing me. Just continue.
I got bumped. I'm not sure if everybody got bumped, but I got bumped. So I was at the point where we were waiting on everybody else. Is everybody there?
It's not allowing me, and this is gonna take time, so just go ahead. I'll just try to pay attention.
And the rest of us? Because you're gonna have to be creating in your groups. I want to ensure that at least a few of us are in.
Michelle.
Yes.
I have an account with Canva. But I had logged into your, your link. So it's kind of took me back to where I had made designs before. But
so one of the things you can do is
the logo part.
So on the home page, you can search for badge logo. So where it allows you to search, let me reshare my screen. So you're
I think I'm seeing. I think I'm seeing it now.
You're seeing it?
Yes, I'm seeing it.
Okay, great. All right, so I see persons have indicated that they're in. All right, great. So let us So you're gonna search for a badge that you like, and this is just one of two. We're gonna look at Accredible in a few minutes, and you don't have to worry about um, the same kinds of issues that we have in Canva. So look at one that you like right now. So if you like this one, I like this one. I go with this one. All right. So my internet is going again. All right. So you have located one that you like. And we're going to. So we're not creating it from scratch actually. So there are a few things that you can do. All right. So system frozen. Here we go. Okay, so one of the things that I can do, I can just double click on this. So if I double click on this, I can change the text. All right, so I can double click to change it, or I can just click on it and delete it. This garbage bin right here allows me to delete it. Change this to something else. So I want to call it critical thinker. Well, critical, and I'll put thinker in this. And I have levels for my critical thinking. So I'll put critical thinker LV1 for level 1. All right. So this is what I want my badge to look like, but I sort of want it to have, instead of this image, I want to have an image of somebody thinking, maybe. So I click on it to get rid of it. I can use the delete on my keyboard, or I can use the trash can. And then I will go across to where it says elements. On element, I want to look for thinking. All right, so I have photos. I like this one. All right, so I want to use this one, but if I carry it across, realize that it comes with the black. So one of the things that I'll do is that I will look for a shape. Now, under elements, there is something called, I don't remember what, frames, all frames. So the frames, if you put that onto your image, it will allow you to put the shape in. So I'm going to carry my shape across, and I'm going to resize it. Okay. So it tells me that a photo will go in here. And then I go back to my critical thinking image. Here it is. And then what I do is I just bring it over to where the shape is, and it puts it in. All right. So this is something that you can use. You don't have to, but this is something that you can use if you want to control certain things in your badge. So this is my badge. I am happy with it. And then I am simply going to download it. So to download it, I go to share. And then I scroll down to where it says download. And I have options. So if I click the drop down, I can download it as a JPEG, but they're suggesting PNG, and there are other things that I can download it as. So I'll work with their suggestion. All right, and I want a transparent background, and then I'll click download. Okay, so this is if you are going to edit one. So I'm going to put it in my folder where I've created some already that we're going to use for later session. All right. So if I click on it to see what it would look like, let me just bring it across to show you what it looks like. There is my badge. All right. So that's one very simple way that you can create your badges. You can use the Canva badge logo maker. All right. Did anybody create anything that you want to share? I'll stop sharing for a minute. Anybody want to share?
I was watching you, so I wasn't trying to make one.
Did anybody do anything?
Yeah, I did one, but
Still
it
working on something.
Can you give us
Would
a
you
minute or two?
Yes, ma'am, you have a minute. I'll wait and then you can share.
Morning, Michelle. I could share.
Go ahead, please. Oh, nice. I like that. I like that. I would probably take out
the black. I don't know.
no, not the black. I would take out the EST, the established
Oh yeah.
2020. Yes, I'd probably take that out. All right. Anybody else wants to share what they have put together?
So one is shared in the chat.
Miss Barkley, could you share the one that is shared in the chat, please?
Sure, not a problem.
Who shared this one?
Oh, that was Karen Edwards. Critical thinker.
Oh,
Lady Michelle, if you're speaking or not hearing. I think you're breaking up.
I am back on the UE system and it is behaving badly. So somebody wanted to share, you can still share very quickly. Ms. Barkley?
Yes, are you able to see that
Ms.
one?
Barkley?
Yes. Are you hearing me?
Anyone hearing me? Ah,
Are you able to see that one?
I'm hearing you, but I'm not seeing anything.
Oh, you're not
It
seeing the
says
share?
that you have started screen sharing, so I'll wait to see what comes up.
I'm seeing critical thinker. Is that correct?
Yes.
Yes. I'm seeing critical
I'm
thinker.
not seeing anything.
Oh, you're not seeing anything. I'm not sure why.
All right, so since the rest of it just came up for me. It just came up for me. It
Can I
just
try
came up for
sharing
me.
one?
All right.
All right, so this was shared in
Just
the
a minute.
pool.
The person who shared this critical thing. So the person who shared that one, the only thing that I would do is to ensure that the two dots that are to the left and right do not cover the words because they're currently covering a part of the critical thinking text. All right, so that is what I would bear in mind. Who's the next person sharing?
Michelle, I'm not sharing, but can I make a comment about that last one?
Yes,
I'm
please.
actually thinking that perhaps the image should be gender neutral if it's not only females that are in the class. Because it has, well, I think the one that was up before, the critical thinker, well, looks like a girl. And I'm thinking if the badge is not being given to girls, I don't know that the boys would be happy with, the males would be happy with that. So I'm actually thinking maybe the image should be gender neutral. I don't think Michelle is hearing me, but I suspect everyone else can hear me.
Yeah, that's a good point. Gender neutrality.
All right, so I'm having a poor experience with the internet today. So I was saying before we share this one, I was saying that with that image, it seems to be of a little white girl. So maybe you want to use an image that shows the age group, closer to the age group of your students, and are representative in terms of race. All right, please tell me that you're hearing me.
We just heard you. Are
Yes,
you
just
hearing
heard
me?
you.
Okay.
Are you hearing me?
Yes.
So I was saying before you commented that I would also make the image gender neutral, especially if the class is not just females. I mean, if it's a female class, maybe the female doesn't matter, but like you said, more ethnic, to our sort of depending on the group. But I was thinking a gender neutral image would be helpful.
Yes. And I see that somebody who is sharing is working on a participation badge. In fact, the person is doing several badges, which is something that you can do in Canva. You can create several pages and download them, several images and download them as individual images. It will be downloaded as a zipped file, and then you can easily extract those. All right. So the next thing that I'm going to do is I am going to share my screen again. I'm going to take us to the second site that we can use. If there are no other persons who want to share, is there anybody else who wants to share? No? All right, so the next place that we're going to go that you can use when you go in your breakout room is Accredible. And I'm going to share the site and just walk us through using Accredible very quickly. So you should be able to see my screen. So Accredible specializes in micro-credentialing and so forth. So they have a whole section called Badge Designer. And so that is what we're going to do. All right, so we can accept or deny their cookies. And then we will see a pink section here that says create a badge. Okay, so this is where you're gonna, so please let me know if you're at Accredible. You're there?
Yes.
Yes.
All right, great. Click on create a badge. And it will give you a canvas with which you will work, right? So this kind of background tells you that you're going to have a PNG image, and to the left, the extreme left, you will see background text, images, icons, ribbons, that sort of thing. Unlike Canva, where you have templates that you can work from, here you would have to create your badge from scratch. All right. So if I click on background, it's not to give me the kinds of badges that I can work with. All right. And if you scroll, you'll realize that you have quite a number of them. All right. So I'm just going to select one. And when you select it, it automatically comes on your canvas or your working area. Okay. The colors, you can change the colors. So if I wanted to change this particular color, I would simply click the color thingy, or I can use a picker. All right. So I'm going to click on this and just show you what it would look like. So that is what it would look like. And if you're happy with it, you leave it be. And then you can do the same thing for the other side. All right. And then just gonna use something that's a little, all right, this is just to give you an idea of what you can do when you're working on it. All right. So I'm just gonna undo and go back to what I had originally. I just simply use the undo on my keyboard, Control Z. Okay, so we're beginning with our badge. All right, so this is our background. Then you have what we call ribbons. So if you wanted to have a ribbon on your badge, you can then select the kind of ribbon you want and simply move it down to where you want to put it. Okay, and again, you can change the color by clicking inside of the color palette and getting the color that you want. You'll realize that the badge has different sections based on the 3 different colors. So you would have to click to select. If you wanted to have the same color for all of them, you would make a note of the color code so that you can have just that. And then for this inside here, I'm going to probably use something that looks a little more blackish like that. So that is what I want mine to look like. So I have my background and I have my ribbons so far. And then I can click on text and I can add text on circle, or I can just add the text plain. If I click text on circle, this is what it would look like. All right. I use the garbage to trash can to delete. If I want to add text, this is what it would look like. So I write my whatever it is that I want to write. So it says your text here, and I'm still going to use the same critical thinker. And I want to all right, and I want to have my level 1. All right. And then of course, I can change the color here. So I can change the color so that it shows me, whoa. So this is where you have to be very mindful of the color psychology and so forth. So you want to ensure that it's not something that's clashing. And right now my badge is clashing, but it's just for example. If you click, you can change the font type that you have. Remember, you have to select it. You can consider making it normal. You can move it around, and then you can change the size of it. So you can make the font size much bigger if you're thinking of something that's bigger. All right. So, and then when you're finished, you would click on download badge PNG, and it's gonna ask you to put in your email address. In order to download. All right. And then you save it where it is, critical thinking 2. Okay. And then you can preview it. That is what my badge would look like. So this is the second site that you can use. Did anybody create anything while we were working?
I'm trying, but I'm having a little problem with my ribbon. How do we get the?
Share your screen.
Oh, okay.
Oh, somebody is sharing.
Okay. Let's see.
All right. So share your screen, please.
There it is. Are you seeing it?
It's coming up. It's coming up. Okay. So what about the ribbon?
I was trying to get the ribbon to go down to the bottom, but it wouldn't move.
All right. So you see that yellow circle there on the ribbon?
Oh, this one?
Yeah. Click on it and drag it down.
Oh.
Yes.
Okay,
All right.
Okay. All right. I have to think about the rest of it. I'll show it when I'm finished.
All right, that's fine. So Javon
Thank
said
you.
that when he was, considering both, he prefers the Canva. I suppose it depends on what it is you really want to do. Canva really gives quite a bit of flexibility, and you have a lot that you can select from in terms of putting it together. And Canva also has an AI integration. So if you wanted to have something that was uniquely you could then say, I want you to generate this, and it does that. All right, great ideas, forum discussion, little brain, and so forth. So I'm seeing the ideas. Okay, great. So now that we have a basic idea of what to do, let us go into our breakout rooms. And in your breakout rooms, this is what you're going to do. In your groups, yes, Andrea points out that Accredible does a demo as well. It does. So in your breakout groups, you're going to be in there for 30 minutes. So there are two things that you're going to do. One, you're going to complete the design template. So the custom badge, you're going to fill it out. You're going to do one badge, all right? If you feel comfortably enough, you can actually extend the form and do two. But we want you to do one badge. So in your group, you're going to fill out the form about a badge that you're designing. So you're going to determine the course that is you're using, consider the learning objective that it is linked to, and then you fill out the details of this particular badge. So you're going to discuss this among yourselves. Now, after you have done so, you're going to create a badge. All right. Now, in order to create a badge, think about the things that we shared earlier, but also think about your students. Okay. Are these postgrads? Are these undergrads? Are these professionals who are in the system? When you're thinking about that, it means that the kind of badge that you actually create would reflect your participants, your recipients. All right. Any questions before we put you in your rooms? I will come in and just double check that everybody is all right, but any questions? Any clarification before I put you in? Miss Barkley, did you get a chance to do the groups?
No question, no clarification, thanks.
All right, great. Miss Barkley?
Yes, I created 5 rooms actually, but I
All
see
right.
where persons have left. And so what I did was disregard room 5 and put persons to other groups just to keep. So we have 4 rooms now.
Yeah,
4
all
rooms
right.
with 4 persons.
All right, great. I'm seeing 28 participants. So 4 rooms with 4 persons means that there are 2 persons apart from me and you who would not be in a room.
No, that the 20 includes you and I. So
Oh, no, I know that, but 4 is 16. So there would be 2
Right.
persons. I'm seeing a participant list with 20.
Right.
So if you minus me and you, that would leave 18.
Right.
So you'd probably have to put one group with 5, 2 groups with
Right.
5. All
Right.
right.
It's sorted. So
Okay, great. So you can put them in the rooms, please.
all right.
Carry your design. Make sure you have downloaded your design form so that you can fill it out, and I'll walk around. For the 30 minutes that they have, that means that they stop at 12. Yeah, great. Could you stop the recording for that 30 minutes so that we don't have 30 minutes of blank space? All right. I think we're back. I could see from afar that you were very engaged. I mean, beyond me coming into the rooms and peeping in on you, I could see from the breakout rooms window that every group was fully engaged. Somebody was sharing in each room and mics were open and people were enjoying the discussion. So let us jump straight into this particular show and tell. And then from here, we're going to go over to the BLE. I'll talk a little bit about the tiered badge system, and then we'll go over. And then there are 2 more documents that I will share with you. So room one had Aika, Audra, Demar, etc. Let us see your plan and see the batch that you selected. Miss Barkley, did you get a chance to put each person who in each group, at least one person who had access to the VLE?
Yes, I did.
All right, great, wonderful, thank you. Room 1?
So that's us. Okay. So Damar, you're here. Okay, there we are.
All right, talk us through it.
Damar?
Hi, gonna need some help here, but what we designed was pretty much so our course is pretty much about ethics. So as you can see, you're seeing the course name and the course code. And okay. Can you remind me? Yes, can you remember what exactly for this part of it? What is required of me / us?
The visual design aspect. You were just basically describing what the badge would look like, or if you had a sketch. But you have a sketch because I saw the image
Yes,
on the
we have a
bottom. So
sketch,
yes,
right.
you can jump
Okay,
that.
all right.
Not the one. Can you scroll down?
Yeah, but we criteria for earning this badge?
All right, so this badge is aligned to which one of your learning outcomes? Did you
Um,
consider that?
Okay, so there we go. We were made two learning outcomes. One was to be able to define the knowledge, the four ethical principles, and then to apply it to appropriately apply the ethical principles in different scenarios.
Okay.
That's
And
okay.
in order for them to get this particular badge,
Right, they would
you're
have been
asking me if that's
thinking.
okay?
No, we're confirming that that is what we did, that we
Yes,
considered.
yes.
We're confirming.
So we would have
Oh, okay.
had three
All right.
different criteria. So one, they would have had a quiz where they were testing knowledge. So they would have to get 75% or more correct responses. And they would have a group work where they would be looking at different scenarios and so on. So we look at how effectively they would work, whether they would attend meetings, participate in the group discussions and in the presentations. And the third one is the appropriate application of the principles in the different scenarios.
All right. So may I just jump in and before you go any further? It would mean therefore that in applying this badge on your BLE, you would be taking into consideration both automated and manually awarded because all right, so it says my internet is unstable. So for the quiz, so they have to be successful in all these three criteria, in these three areas in order to get the badge, yes?
Yes, yes, that's what we thought.
All right. All right, continue.
Yes, and therefore, and how this will provide actionable feedback. It will help to develop their skills. It would be peer recognition, motivation, and guidance for improvements. And so would have been adding a little bit more to this, but here it is with a crown. It means that they are high achievers, excellence in ethical principles, and there the balance there is representing the ethical principles, and it would have been for semester 1, 2024.
Nice. All right, any comments from the other groups? Very quickly, wanted to say anything? If you just want to use an emoticon, that's fine. You can do the thumbs up or an applaud. Thank you very much, group 1. Let us go to room 2. Room 2 has Andrea, Javon, Nikisha, and Yolanda. Room 2?
Okay, I'm going to be sharing.
Okay.
Can everyone see?
Yes, we are not seeing the document though. We are seeing your course
I'm
outline.
so sorry. Sorry, wrong thing. Stop sharing. Oh, where am I? Right here. Okay. Can you now see?
Yes.
Okay. All right, so my course is Care of the Older Adult, NURS 3015. That's the course name and code. And I just put in the learning outcomes, learning from the last presenter. So I have the learning outcome is actually number 6 from the course outline. Integrate basic principles of each body system, the age-associated changes, and the associated major health conditions in the older adult. And Unit 4 of the course outline speaks to identifying age-related changes based on physical functioning. And number 3 should have been in the other line, conduct biological assessments of the older adults. So the students are actually going to be presenting on age-related changes, and that will also be a part of their preparation for their mid-semester exams. So our visual design, we decided on top presenter. And so this is a design with a trophy and a star, and the course code at the bottom, NURS 3015, is a nursing course. So what this badge represents is the ability to accurately explain the changes that occur in the system of the older adult, and the criteria for earning this badge: 1, appropriate use of visual aids; 2, ability to connect theory and visual representation; and 3, demonstrate group dynamics in presenting the material, for example, involvement of the audience, getting feedback. And how this provides actionable feedback is that for the teacher, it represents mastery of the topic, and the student, it gives students an indication of how well they understand and present the material. And students would get an idea of what a good presentation looks like. And that's it. Any comments, any areas for improvement?
Well,
I like the badge. I think it's cute.
What about the color? We were wondering about the color. Well, I was
I
wondering.
got
I'm not hearing Mrs. Stewart-McKoy.
in a warm time.
Purple is royalty.
I'm
I think Michelle is saying
some
something, but I don't think we're hearing.
serious internet issues here in the office.
Yeah, so the color,
Serious internet.
the color scheme is okay. Well, my team was fine with it. Gold, we call that gold versus the purple. And gold represents, you know, a top award as well.
Okay, unless you wanted to use the university colors, but that's fine.
We thought about it, but I couldn't quite find the colors in the Canva that I wanted to represent that. But I think I like the gold in the middle, actually. I was trying to find the university colors for the other part.
Right, yeah.
It would probably clash as well, I'm thinking.
Excellent though, yeah.
Mhm.
I would make the circle bigger or the cup smaller, because I feel a little cluck.
Oh, it's close to the edge.
Claustrophobic. Yeah, it's kind of tight, you
Right,
know.
right. Yes.
So I would reduce it, giving it some breathing room between the cup and the border there.
Border. Yes, okay, that's a good point.
Mrs. Stewart-McKoy, we had lost you, but I see that you're back. Are you
Yes,
speaking?
I left a voice note message for you just to apologize to the group. The internet is really giving me a warm time in office. I think I'm gonna do the tomorrow session from home. All right, and you got feedback? The group got feedback?
Yes, the trophy is a little bit too large, bordering on the circle. So I'll just reduce that a little bit. And I think in general, yeah, that was it.
All right, thank you. Room 3,
Welcome.
I'd really love to hear from the rest of the groups before we continue. So room 3.
Can you remind us who are the persons in the different rooms, please?
In room 3, I have Anna, Karen, Faith, and Heather.
Okay, I'm going to share screen and I think Heather will walk us through for group 3. Okay, let's go.
Okay, so our course name and code is Library Orientation, LIB 1001, and our badge name is Super Searcher. All right, so and it's given to students who can conduct the basic steps of library research based on having gone through our library orientation. And the criteria is that they are able to conduct Boolean searching, find at least one peer-reviewed journal article using our ULink platform, and they're also able to list 3 criteria for evaluating sources. And then it allows the actionable feedback. This is what we came up with. It allows students to become independent users of the library's information portal, ULink. And that is our badge. We are now open for comments.
All right, just bear in mind that for this, the badge looks very nice. It's something that I would want to get. Just remember that the actionable feedback needs to tell the students something else. So it's more than just becoming independent users of the library information portal. I would break it down a little bit more, you know.
Okay.
Yes, it's really nice. So it's about because you have the peer-reviewed journal, you have the Boolean searching. The Boolean searching isn't only done on the UE library system, is it?
No, it can be used on Google and any other platform as well.
Right. So independent users of the library. So I'd probably put library information portal ULink. You becoming something like confident users over time in general search areas, something like that. So
Okay.
the actionable, you know, things that you'll be able to see coming out of this. But the badge is really very nice. You did this in Canva or Accredible?
Canva.
Very nice. It looks good. All right. Thank you very much. Any other comments from anybody else? I saw where Javon said that he really liked the badge. All right, room
I think it does.
4.
They have a very professional look to it. I'm not
Yes,
the one that
yes,
looks too playful. This is what I love the look of it. Yeah.
yes, that's true. Thank you. All right, room 4. I have Anika, Carlene, and Melissa, etc. So room 4, that's our final group.
Sorry, that's me trying to find my document so I can share screen. Can everyone see?
Yes.
Yes.
Okay, so or the course is Fountain 13. We actually could not remember the actual objective and the name of the course, but I think it's a critical reading and writing course. So we're calling the badge citation expert. And well, we're using star with ribbon and gold colors. And it represents the ability to identify credible sources, knowledge of frequently used citation formats, and appropriate use of citation formats. And to earn the badge, the student would have had to score 95% for reference citations for at least 3 out of 4 assessments. And that's our little citation expert badge. And we did this in like almost 1 minute because we were trying to, fluff our way around in the beginning.
1 minute.
Thank you, team. Like literally, we designed the badge in about 1 or 2 minutes because we were trying to work through, just the fact that a lot of us are not experts and we've never done it before.
Wow. So if you have never done it before and you did this in a minute, kudos. All right. And apparently the emphasis is on the citation and so forth.
Yes.
I'd probably not use a star if I were doing it, but it's something that's I'd probably not use a star, and then it's citation. The books represent the citation and the expert part.
Okay.
Okay,
We're
not bad.
thinking because it's expert, but star, star say like
Yes, I
superstar.
get you. I get you. I get
Yes.
you. All right, great. Thank you very much for sharing. But
Thank you.
it's more than just simply creating these images to work. It has to be something that works in tandem with your learning objectives. So your learning objective is very important. And then of course, you have to think through what exactly will the students have to do in order to create this. And because we spoke about looking at a tiered aspect, I'm just gonna talk a little bit about the whole idea of a tiered badge system, and then we jump over to the VLE. All right. Now I know that the internet is
Sorry,
giving. Yes,
Michelle, it's
yes.
Melissa. Before you move on, can you just remind us what's the actionable feedback? Because in our group we had a little we couldn't really quite remember what the actionable feedback represents.
All right. So when we talk about actionable feedback, this is where the badge represents some kind of feedback to the students. All right. So for my badge that I was thinking of, I came up with a critical thinker badge. All right. Came from the same Found 113 course, where the students had to demonstrate critical thinking in a number of cases that they had. And therefore, the actionable feedback would be that it encourages students to develop their critical thinking skills across different activities. All right, so that would be one. It would also be another actionable feedback would be that this badge motivates students to engage in the course material and the discussion so that they can demonstrate. So the actionable feedback is simply, what does this badge say to students? What does it say to other persons? All right. So sometimes it's just one badge that you get that says top performer. But the top performer badge may be saying that you have consistently worked well on all the quizzes, or you have engaged at the top tier between 80 and 100% on at least 3 of the activities. So that is what we refer to as the actionable feedback. Is that any clearer to you?
Yes, thank you. I was just wondering then, how is it different from what's that? How is it different from how you earn it?
So what the students have to do?
Yes.
Okay. So in one, I don't know if you remember looking at the first one. The first one, it simply said that the students had to get an 85% pass in a quiz. That's the
Right.
criteria.
Okay.
There was nothing in the actionable feedback that says that it speaks to critical thinking or to skills development or anything like that.
Okay. All right. Thank you very much.
No problem. Yes, Andrea, go ahead. Your hand is up.
I'm not sure if I missed this, but does this, okay, so all that we're discussing here, will we be saying this to the students? All the criteria?
It's usually good, yes. So when we set up our badge in the VLE, the students will see what they need to do in order to get this badge.
Okay.
And you can easily put that in the course outline as well, so that the students are aware of it from early. It's not something that is sprung on them out of the blue. Does that answer your question?
Thank you. Yes, it does.
All right. So when we talk about tiered badges, it simply means that we have several of these badges that we have designed. I'm gonna share back my screen so that you can see as I walk us through. All right. So let me just share back my screen, and then let me just put it in slideshow view very quickly. Right. So where was I? So I started talking about the concept of, or do I need to go? Oh no, we're good. All right. So, right. So when we talk about the tiered badge, system. What we're talking about are several badges, but the badges are showing are in what, incremental aspects. So there is a development of skills, the breaking down of complex skills into smaller steps, so the students can get a badge to mark the different progression levels. All right. There is the scaffolding. So the tiered badges support the scaffolding. This is where you are. This is where we want you to go. So there is the gradual increase in the challenges and the autonomy based on where the badges are awarded. And then there is motivation through visible process. So there's a psychology of collecting an achievement that plays out in the students' context. And therefore, there is what we call the completionist tendency, because you want to keep continuing until you reach there. All right. And then, of course, when we talk about structuring the tiered system, I think that's on the next one. And when we talk about structuring the tiered system, we're talking about things like when we're putting this together, we have to think about the skill set or the knowledge domain that we want to focus on. So we have to identify the competencies within the course or within the courses if we're doing it across courses. We have to think about badges, the categories for the badges and how they align with the learning outcomes. So we always have to ensure that we're aligned to the learning outcomes, because we're not just using badges for the sake of using badges. We're using badges to enhance the teaching and learning process, and therefore the learning outcomes has to be at the fore. And then, of course, we think about establishing different levels within the different domains that we come up with. So we decide how many tiers are we going to have in this tiered badge ecosystem. Are we going to have a beginner level? How many badges are going to be in the beginner level? Are we going to have intermediate? How many are going to be in the intermediate? Are we going to have an advanced level? How many are we going to have there? And then we define clear criteria for the progression between the level. What must the students be able to do to move from the beginner tier onto the intermediate tier? And then we create what we call interdependencies. So interdependencies is where we design prerequisite for the higher level badges. So we can say that in order to get this particular badge, you must complete this. And of course, you can show that kind of interdependence with badges. So in order to get this top level badge, you must have achieve these lower level badges. And of course, the lower level badges would be linked to several other things. So as I use the term ecosystem earlier, you can realize that it is a whole system of planning and connecting and ensuring that everything is aligned. And then when we talk about balancing breadth and depth, we're talking about ensuring that, you know, we use the badges to encourage exploration of different topics as well, if that is possible in your course. And we have to think about time-based elements. Okay, so this is where we think about the duration of or the consistency of the skill that is being developed. Is it going to be a one-time thing or something that is going to be done over a period of time? Are we going to be awarding badges based on long-term engagement? So if the student have gone through during the 13-week semester and has done all the forum and have done them well, will the student get one badge that shows that sort of long-term engagement? We have to think about several other things. So when we think about a tiered system using the badge, there is enhanced motivation. There are clearer learning paths. If you're thinking about it that way, you can personalize the learning experience for the students because they get to progress at their pace within the 13-week structure, of course, and it acknowledges, you know, different learning styles. And then, of course, there is the aspect of self-assessment. So students are able to gauge the process. They can see how well they're doing based on the kinds of badges that they have. So in a case like this, it would be it would be strategic for you to put in your course outline or on a sheet or somewhere on the VLE that the students will be, you know, that this course will carry a total of 12 badges, probably explain what the badges speak to. And then if I go onto my VLE or my dashboard and I see that I have 6 badges out of the 12, it helps me to gauge where I am. Okay. And And so we have to think about these things, but we also have to think about the technical aspect of it. Do you have assistance in case you need to put this in place? What you're setting up, can it work well in the Moodle system? Are you going to be thinking of a badge storage and display? Are you going to have the badges on the VLE, or are you going to have the badge showcased somewhere else external to the VLE? Are you going to be thinking of awarding the badges automatically, or are you going to be going in and manually awarding? Now, for some of the things that I saw, things like teamwork and collaboration, you wouldn't have an automatic setup for something like that. So when you create that badge, it means that you would have to go in manually and award the badge. Okay, now this is a question that you had asked Andrea about the size. If you have a large class and you're doing manual award, this can be time consuming and tedious. All right, so these are some of the things that you need to set up. If you're going to do an automatic award of the badge, you have to ensure that the criteria is set up properly. All right, so there are some best practices for badge use, things like clear communication, ensuring that the criteria that you set up are meaningful criteria. So you are focusing on the learning outcomes, and you're focusing on the sort of skill set and knowledge that you want to show, give feedback on based on these things. And you're going to have to ensure that it's not too easy to get the badge and it's not too difficult. So you find a balance between the students getting the badge and the challenge that you're creating. And then of course, you have to keep going back and looking at the badges, get feedback from your students and see if that sort of thing works. All right. Now, what I'm going to do, I'm stopping sharing a little bit because I'm going to take us over to the VLE to show you what we need to have put in place if we're going to use the VLE for our badges. And we will use the VLE for our badges, but let us see how we do this. So this course is from a workshop that I did last week. So I had set it up, I'm just using it. All right, so it was a library course that I had set up. So you have to go into your course because this is where you're going to set up the badge. All right. Most of the times I will be looking at the second monitor. So please open your mic, stop me for any questions. So you have worked out your plan for your badges. You have decided what learning outcomes, and you are thinking of, using a tiered approach or not. It really doesn't matter, but you're planning to incorporate some badges. You have had the necessary discussions with your supervisors at the faculty level, at the department level, and you have a very concrete plan of action. So always have the paperwork, have the brainstorming, have everything worked out before you jump into the VLE. So here we are on the VLE, and we have to turn editing on. All right, so we turn editing on so that we can operate. Now, we have the first thing that we have to do is, because we are going to have our activities on the VLE linked to the badges that we create, because these are associated with the learning outcomes that we have to ensure that we set up these activities. If it's a case that it's what we call that, come on, Michelle, that's not feedback. Teamwork and anything that is external, it means that you would have to create an assignment or create an activity, not necessarily an assignment, that can be linked to that kind of manual awarding. All right. So you would have to set up your activities. And here I have 3 activities set up. One is a choice, one is a lesson that allows the student to go through, and one is a forum, right? I didn't have an assignment for this, that's fine. But depending on what it is you're doing, what it is you really want to assess in terms of the learning outcome, you can have just about any resource here. One of the first things that you must have put in place, especially for the automatic assignment of badges, is to turn completion on. All right, so we go up to where it says settings, and then you scroll down to where it says completion tracking. All right, and mine is going to be on. See? Enable completion tracking, yes. Show activity completion conditions, yes. Because for the automatic assignment of the badges, you want this to be on so that the students know that when they have satisfactorily completed this, this is what is going to happen with the badge, all right? So make sure that that is on, and then you can go back in. So you turn completion tracking on and make sure that the two elements are turned on. All right, so I have my activities and I have my completion tracking turned on. The next thing that I'll do, I'll go to more and then I'll scroll down to badges. Okay, now because this is the first time that I'm using badges, I have no badges set up in here, but that's fine. I have my badges. And so what I would do, I would click on add a badge. So it means that you would have had to create your badges before, a part of the design and development process that you would have done. So you name your badge, and I'm going to call it critical thinker. All right. And then if you have different versions, you can put that. And I did say mine was level 1. So I'm going to put that there. And then the description. Please remember that the question mark and the exclamations tend to help. So the exclamation tells us that this is required, all right? And the question mark gives us a little help with it. So the description is going to be, well, I don't have to put a description, but I usually do. So awarded. For a series of CT tasks. All right, so that will help me. And then here where it says image, I can choose the file. I can drag and drop, or I can just click choose, go to upload, choose. My badge is in here in this thing called badges, and it's critical. Don't tell me I deleted it. Oh, here it is. My critical thinker, and then explore the nature. And I am going to upload it. Now, what that just told me is that when I download my badge from Canva or from Accredible, I need to ensure that I give it an appropriate name so that it's easy for me to recognize it. So this badge is named Explore the Nature, but it's actually my critical thinking badge. All right. Author's name, that is your name, author's email. You can decide whether or not you want to put anything here. All right. Most times you don't have to. Will the badge expire? You can put a date for your badge to expire, or you can leave it alone. All right. I'm going to leave it alone. And then I'm going to click on create badge. Okay, so my badge has been created, okay, and it is right here. It says that the criteria has not been set up as yet, all right? And so we're here where it says criteria, add badge criteria, and I can click here to give me. So here I will determine whether or not the students will get this badge manually. So if I will go in and assign this badge, or will they have to complete the course in order to get this badge? Will they have to get other badges in order to complete this badge? Will they have to complete an activity or a series of activities to get this badge? Or do they have to complete the competencies that I have set up in order to get this badge? All right. Now, this is my first badge that I'm putting in. So there are no other badges for my students to get in order to get this one. I want activity completion. Okay, so because I clicked on activity completion, what this will mean is that my student will have to carry out a particular task or a series of tasks. Now, I noticed from the design that you had in terms of planning out your badges, almost everybody, I think all the groups had several tasks for the students to carry out, all right? If this is the first batch, don't make it too difficult. You could probably let it be one task that the student carry out in order to in order to complete. All right, so the student feels the onboarding is not so hard. For the other badges, you can then increase the number of tasks that the students would have to complete in order to get this. Again, it is based on what it is, your learning outcome is, what you want the activity to get, you know, what you want to get out of the students, and the kind of message that you're sending to the student. All right. So here I have a choice. I want them to be able to complete the choice. I want them to do the lesson. So, and this is the first one. So I'll do the choice and I'll do the forum. All right. So these are what I want them to be able to complete. And it says that the criterion is complete when any or all. Now I don't want any because I'm giving them more than one. If I'm only if I want them to be able to do X or Y or Z, then I would select any. All right. But right now I want them to do both the choice and the forum in order to get this critical thinking badge. So I'm going to select all because it says all of the selected activities. So these are these two. All right. And then on the description, you can write out your description here so that the student sees exactly what it is. All right. So the description also allows you to give some information. Now, I don't know if you noticed that it said draft saved a while ago. The sort of editor that I'm using automatically saves my work. All right. So I'm going to test it without the description so that you can see what happens. So when I click on save, it comes here. And then it shows me that the badge criteria has been successfully created and that the badge is not available to users as yet. I would have to enable. So it says that the following activities must be completed: the choice, ethical dilemma, and the forum, privacy, and the security. Okay, so the students will see this. So I'm going to enable access. All right. And then it says that, you know, if you do this, it means that your users in the course will see, do you want to continue? And then if you say yes, it will make it available. So now it says that it's available to users and they can get the badge. All right, now I'm just going to switch over to student mode and hope that this really works because I'm the only person in the course. All right, that's fine. So here I am. So if I click on badges here, so this is me in student, it says that this is the badge, the description awarded for a series of CT tasks. So of course, for the description, you could be more detailed because the student hasn't gotten the badge as yet, but the student will be able to see what and what he or she needs to do in order to get this badge. All right. And if you have set up several badges, they will show here. So I'm going to add one or two more badges so that you can see. And then the criteria is here. The student must do all of the following: must complete the choice, must complete the forum. And issued to me tells the student that he or she has been successful. So far, it hasn't been issued to me. So I am student, all right? So I am going back to the course. I'm still in student mode, so let me test how this works. If I'm alone in there as a student, it says a choice. So this is a choice. So the student would see this and the choice is being used as a course activity and not just a checking in or pulse activity. And so the students has to read this thing that has been set up, and I am going to put that and I am going to save my choice. So that has been done. All right, so my choice is there and I'm good to go with that. The other thing though is that for me to get this badge as a student, I have to complete the choice, which I just went in and did, but I also have to complete the forum. All right, so this is the forum, so I click on it. Now, one of the things that I did was I simply copied and paste, so it's the same thing. But it requires me to say how I would balance. So it means that I have to add my views. So I am going to click on add a discussion. All right, and then I'd put my topic and then I'd put security first. And then I put my content here. All right, so I would ensure that I use and then you the student finish rights, whatever it is that the student has. Cites whoever the student needs to cite, because you did put in this forum assignment that they need to cite cases from the course. All right, and so I have done all of that, and I click that. My post has been thingy. Now, if I go back to the home page and I click on badges, so a message will be sent to my email to say, congratulations, you have been awarded a badge. Oh, I don't get no badge here. Why didn't I get the badge?
I had a question about that.
Go. Yes.
Because, okay, so the choice activity seemed like it was like an MCQ. That was what the choice was. It was like an MCQ where you
Yeah.
had to make a
No,
choice.
it's not an MC. You make a choice, so it's
Right.
only one.
Okay,
Right.
so the choice, okay, in terms of the grading of that, the computer grades that by itself. Is that it?
It doesn't carry a grade. So you remember when I said let me come out of it as students return to my normal role. I think I'm not seeing the badge because I'm a student. I'm not sure. So I am going back. So remember when we were, well, you wouldn't remember, in setting up the course
Right.
for my choice, it didn't carry a grade.
It's just that the student had to do it. They just had to provide a
So
response.
Right. So under activity completion, it says that show as complete when the student
Okay.
makes a choice.
All right.
So this is where you would set it up.
Okay.
So
And
I have made the choice.
okay. And for the second one, the person is supposed to respond.
Melissa, before you go to the second one, I'm still on to the first
So
one.
stay on the first one?
Yeah.
Yes.
So it
So let me go
doesn't
back to the first one.
matter. It doesn't matter here whether there's a wrong or right response.
No.
Here for
No.
you, it's just that they're making a choice.
They're making a selection. Yes.
But we could have set it up that one is correct. How
No,
would
not
that
in the
be
choice.
different? How would that be different?
Not in the choice.
Not in the choice. Okay.
No,
Okay.
not in the
Okay.
choice.
All right.
So the choice is simply you select something.
All right. Thank you.
So whether or not it's a right selection or a wrong
Mhm.
selection, you select. It's not linked to correct or incorrect
Oh,
responses.
so it's a different type of activity.
Yes, it is.
All right. Thanks.
Yes. All right. For the forum, let me just take a quick look at what the instructions are for the
Right, because I
forum.
was wondering, for the forum, does the facilitator have to go in and look at the student's response and decide whether it's a satisfactory response or not?
It depends on the purpose
How
of the
you?
forum
Okay.
and what it is you want to get. But I think when I had set it up, I had simply said that the student must create a discussion. All right. But if you
Okay.
look here, you'll see several things. Must receive a grade, must receive a passing grade. Now, in order for the
Okay.
student to get a passing grade, it means that the teacher have to go in to look to see if it's satisfactory and then assign a grade. But for this, when it was set up, it simply said that I should create. I'm
Okay.
thinking
I
that
was
it
wondering if
may
that's
be,
why, if that's what affected you getting the badge. I was just wondering.
I think it may be because I'm the only person in here. Yeah, it could be that. It could be that. I'm looking at the badge. Yeah, it may be that, because it's certainly not listed to
So could you
me.
give yourself a grade?
Well, just now when I went participant, it said 0, so it didn't even list you.
Oh, thank you very much. So, so that is it. If I'm gonna switch very quickly to somewhere where I have a little more leeway.
The
So
computer is smart. It knows that you're the teacher.
the system is, the system is smart. It knows that I
Yeah.
am me. All right, but let me show you something. There's a site that I manipulate. That I am the, what do you call that? I'm the coordinator for it. I am the administrator, so I can get away here. So I'm gonna just show you what it would look like. Just waiting on it to log me in. My session has not timed out. Okay, great. All right. So here are my badges that I have earned over the period of time. I'm going to go into this course. The internet is still acting a bit shoddy, so bear with me. All right, so I'm going to turn editing on and I'm going to find an activity that I will do. So there is this one, an open discussion. So I'll just do a little editing on this one. And then the activity completion would be that I could post, or, so I'm going to change it to I must create, you know what, let me leave it at post, or post a discussion or reply, just in case I want to reply to somebody else's post. All right, and I'm not going to grade it. I'm just going to show you what is likely to happen. I have to create a quick badge. So let me just quickly do a badges, add a new badge, and it's going to be the same critical thinking level 1. And then, what did I say? Successfully completing a series of
CT something.
Yes, CT meaning critical thinking. Completing a series of critical thinking tasks, right? Might not look like it, but that's thinking. And this is successfully. All right, and then of course I'll add my image. So I'm just going to upload, look for it. I know where it is. It is in this folder that's called badges, and this is my badge. So I'll click on that, and then I'm going to just skip the rest of this and create a badge. I'm going to set up the criteria, which is activity completion. And then I have all of these things. So I have resources and activities here, but I'm looking for this particular, what was the name of the forum? Oh, this one. So this is what I'm working with. They must do that one. And the criterion is complete when that's, and I did say that I was going to leave that so that you can see what it looks like. So when I click on it, it says successfully, and I'm enabling access, right? And then I'm doing that. So I am good to go. I am going to change my role to student. Oops. Wrong thing. Changing my role to student because I'm a student in this course. And then I am going to this so that I can make my post. So it says that there are no posts, no discussion topics yet. I don't understand something. You know what's missing? You realize what's missing?
The instructions for your, I
No,
don't see the
not the instructions. What is missing is the section that says create a new
create a new
forum.
post.
Right. So I think it's the type of post that this is.
I was thinking that your forum was there already.
And has
Add a
nothing,
new,
and you're already editing.
yeah. Post. go back to student and see if that's all right. Oh, but this didn't come up a while ago. The other discussion topic. Did anybody see it? I didn't.
It definitely wasn't there.
No, it wasn't.
No, it wasn't there.
It wasn't there.
All right. So I have posted. All right. I'm still in student mode. When I go back to the beginning of the course, and if I go to badges, so there's supposed to be badges. All right. So this is what is likely to happen to your students. They will see when it was issued to them. All right. And if they click, it gives them some more information. So this will happen to your students, and then they can actually download their badges. Okay. Now, the other thing that I want to show you, which happens on the dashboard on the other side as well, is that I have something that says my latest badges, and there is my critical thinking level 1. As the facilitator of the course, you would have to talk your students through how to set up their dashboard so that they can see their badges. All right. So let me just jump back over to the VLE so that I can show you how to walk your students through setting up the badges. So right here, the students would see the date that the badge was issued. And if they click on it, it would then open up to give them all the details of the badges. So that is why it's going to be important for you to put the description in so the student can see what is expected of him or her and what he or she has to do. All right. So if it's a tiered badge, and this is say in the intermediate, it means that the students would have successfully done task A, B, and C to be able to get this one. So it means that the student would have to now go back, look at his or her progress, and then go through doing task A, B, and C. Is that clear?
One question. So when we were setting up the descriptor for the badge and we described what it was for and so on, that's the information we're going to put in the descriptor here.
As well as the criteria,
And the
because
criteria.
this
Okay.
exactly.
Okay.
So
Yeah.
it means that you must be able to successfully do X, do Y, do Z.
Okay.
And this badge assesses P, Q, and R. So that goes in your description. So this is you giving students all the information that they need in order to progress from where they are. All right.
Yes.
Is this clear to everybody?
Sorry, Michelle,
Yes. I keep asking, is this clear to everybody? And y'all ignoring me. Is this clear to everybody?
Yes, yes.
Yes,
Okay.
Yes, it is there. Yes.
No.
Go ahead.
What's a little blurry for me is automatic versus manual.
Manual. Okay. So I'm going to show you manual in just a few. All right. I may have to show you manual over the other side, but I'll show you manual in just a few. For your students, what you'd have to show them is that on their dashboard, they would, let me reset to default. So currently when you go in, this is what the dashboard looks like. All right. But as the facilitator and as the users, the dashboard belongs to you. So you can change things. So you would have to tell your students what, that they can delete what they don't want on their dashboard. It doesn't delete it. It doesn't affect the system. It's only my user face that is impacted. So you can tell them that they're not going to break anything. And then they will see something that says add a block. They will see something that says turn dashboard menu on or something like that, or turn on or something similar to this. So when they do that, then they can add what they want on their dashboard. And in order to see their badges, they simply scroll to latest badges, and then the badges will be displayed here. So if your course has 12 badges and they have been successful with 3, it gives them some kind of indication of their progression, their progress, their achievements. If they have completed 7 out of the 12, it gives them an idea of where they are. So this is a progression meter, if you will. All right. So you can tell your students that, and they can show you, because if you're in and you even change your role, you see what is likely to happen. Let me show you the manual thing now. All right. So what we did before was that we set it up so that once a student completed the activity, it meant that they were able to get the badge. All right. Now, if I set it up, let me set it up over here since I have this sort of power. If I go back into my course and I set up an activity, so we have something that we are working on for teamwork. I think I saw something that said collaboration, that sort of thing, peer review collaboration. Yes? Yes? I did, didn't I?
Yes.
All right. So what I would do here is that I would set up an assignment. All right. So the assignment would say, collaborative activity. And then, of course, I would describe the activity, the team working, what have you, the peer review, and then I'd put something that says, you are not expected to do anything here. All right. And then this is I'm putting all my details, and my activity completion it has no activity completion here. All right. Because there's nothing for them to do. All right. And then I save and return to course. Now, when I'm setting up my badge, it means that I have to set up a second badge, but let me show you how the manual. So I'm going to add a badge, and this badge is going to be journalist. And the badge is being awarded for excellence, peer review, for outstanding collaborative skills, and all the other things that, all right. And then of course I would upload my badge. I need my badge, don't it? So let's go upload my badge. And so here I have something called journalist. So I'll upload this one, and the rest of detail is there. All right, so I've set up my badge. Now, what makes it different from the other one is, in order for me to issue it manually, I wouldn't go to activity completion. I would go to manual issue by role. And when I do that, it tells me all the persons that the VLE have in the system, who can award this badge. So the distance learning liaison can award it, but I don't think so. I just want the teacher or the non-edit, no, just the teacher to award this badge. And then the criterion would be applied when the teacher has awarded this badge. All right. So what the student would see, let me enable it. What the student would see is, let me go and switch mode to the student. I'm just switching between so that you can see what the students see and what you would see. All right. So it's the collaborative. This is not what I'm supposed to click on. I'm supposed to click on the badge. All right. So when I click on badge, I see that the course has another badge, but it says that it has to be awarded by the teacher. So that is the difference between automatically getting the badge or the badge being awarded. So when the student is finished with whatever, you, the teacher, would have to go in and do the award. Now, how do you do that? Let me come back to my normal road. I would, in my normal road, I would go to badges. I would see, I'm in my normal road, right? Yes, I'm in my normal road. So why am I not able? It doesn't have me in as a teacher. I am in as distance liaison. I'm sorry. So because I'm in as distant liaison and I only selected the teacher can award this badge, it doesn't give me that kind of option. But what you would see here is a link that says award badge. And when you click on it, it gives you the drop down with all the students' names. Now, again, I am the only person in the course. So I can't show you that, but I can tell you. So what would happen there is that it gives you all the students who are in the course. And I think I can actually show you that, you know. I have a course that has more than one students in there. All right. So it gives you the list of the students who are in the course, and then you select the student who you want to manually, or the students who you want to manually give this badge to. One more badge activity, please. Let me show you. So I'm still calling it, well, I'm calling this one journalist. And this is the criteria. So all the details about the badge goes here. And then I am uploading the badge. So that's the one that I want to award. And then I am going to come here, still going to let it be issue by role. And I'm actually the lecturer in this one, so I can do this. And the criterion is completed when, and then I click save, right? And then now I'm going to enable, and then I click continue. Okay, now I have the badge, and then what I would do is disable lecturer. All right, so if I go to the course, I didn't set up an assignment that this would be linked to, did I? I don't understand what's happening here. I am in my mode, badges, manage badges. All right, so when I click on manage badges, this is the journalist badge. It says awarded by, so only the lecturer can award this one. This is the manual awarding of the badge. And then over here, you see a number of icons. The first one means that you can disable it so that nobody can access it anymore. This one, which is the actual trophy looking, is award. When I click on it, it gives me the names of the students who can actually get this badge. Oh, it actually have my name in there too. So let me click on my name so that it doesn't go to the student, and click award badge. Okay, so I have been given this journalist badge, and I've been given this journalist badge because of all these different things. All right, now when I go back to my course and I go to my dashboard, please let it show on my dashboard. There it is. So the student will be able to see that he or she has been awarded this badge. And then if the student clicks on it, it gives them the details of what they did in order to get the badge, and that the badge was given to them by the lecturer. It was not something that a completed set of tasks that they did, that it was automatically issued to them. Questions?
Michelle, I'm still thinking for the automatic.
Mm-hmm.
You said something a while ago about nothing that they needed to do.
No, that's not for the automatic. That was when I was setting up the manually awarding it.
Okay, but for the automatic though,
Mhm.
you still need to do some grading before the
It depends on the activity.
Okay.
So if it's a choice, I wouldn't need to do any grading. If it's a quiz, the students would have to get a grade. If it's a forum that requires the teacher's input, then the teacher would have to go in and assign the grade. If it's a lesson, the lesson carries a grading component that would go to the grading book. That would be the case. So not every activity would require a grade in order for them to get the badge. There are some that you can decide that this is not a graded task, and therefore you want them to be able to do this plus a graded task plus another graded task in order to get the badge.
Okay. I'm kind of thinking of feedback. That's why I'm asking.
But they can get feedback whether or not they get a grade. Most students tend to go to the grade, not the feedback.
Right. I guess I have to really put my hands on it to fully understand that part, the automatic.
Yes.
Yeah.
All right. So the automatic simply means that after the students have completed this task, I don't have to go in as a teacher. They would get their feedback and their grade. and their badge. Remember that you can set up some activities where they get the feedback without you going in. So I can set up my quiz. So let us say I'm setting up a quiz in Moodle. I can set up the quiz so that they get feedback at the item level and that they get overall feedback. And once they have completed the quiz and the system marks it, they get their grade, they get their feedback, and if they have successfully passed whatever criteria, the threshold I set, they get their badge. So you can set up an automatic activity that they don't have to, that you don't have to go in and give them feedback on, like the quiz. But then if there are others like the assignments, the forum, if you have a grade to it, you may have to go in, grade it, and give them feedback that they will see. But that the automatic part simply means that once a student have completed the activity, they get the badge. I don't have to go in and give them the badge. That's what the automatic versus manual awarding means. All right. I hope that's a little clearer. Okay. Now, would you believe? Look at the time. It's 16 minutes past, and you're almost all here with me. Thank you for staying the course. I would like to just remind us of a few things. So when we are thinking of using badges, let us do so in a very strategic manner. Let us look at our course outlines. Let us look at the skills that we want to enhance in our students. And then let us determine whether or not we can use badges here. Of course, this particular process would start long before we sit down in our departments or our smaller groups to discuss this. We would have a basic discussion of who our students are. So we talk to the students. We don't just talk about them. Talk to the students, get a feel of what it is they like, what it is they don't like. Ask them straight up, is this something that you could use? You know, you think you could benefit from it. These are some of the things that it does. Do you play games? What kind of games? Do you get badges? Do you have trophies? It's something similar. We are just using it to encourage deeper engagement with the learning content. And then you think through, what courses am I going to use this for? What learning outcomes am I going to focus on? What kind of badges am I going to use? Am I going to have a standalone badge, or am I going to have a series of badges that show increase in difficulty or complexity levels? Am I going to be focusing on knowledge? Am I going to be focusing on skills? Am I going to have a combination of both? So these are some of the things that we need to think about. And then we have the discussion, how many badges are we going to give in each of our courses in this particular program? What will the badges mean? What kind of description will we put to the badges so that the students get this kind of information, because we're giving them feedback on what it means, okay? Think about where you're going to design your badges when you design them. And so when you design your badges, think about the aesthetics of it all. The font should be clear enough so the students can see any text that is on it. So my journalist badge was very clear, and it had the cogwheels, which show that the critical thinking aspect. So you have to think about the symbols and what they mean. And then when you create your badges, you take a look at it, you blow it up to make sure that when you blow it up, it still look all right, because your students will be able to download these badges. And then you create your activities that are going to be aligned to these learning outcomes before you can give the badge. And you set them up, and remember that the activities don't have to be linked to the VLE. They can be in-class activities, and you simply create something on the VLE that will house you giving the students these badges. And if they do something outside, you don't even have to, if you don't even have to set up a holder, you know, if it's teamwork, if it's oral presentation and it's a badge that you create for manual issue, you don't even have to set up anything as a holder on the VLE. Once you set it for manual issue, you simply click on the trophy and you look for who will get this badge. Encourage your students to set up their dashboard so that they can see, but also look at your students' profiles. If you decide to use it, the student profile will show the badges. Incorporate this in your course outline. Let your students know that this course will have X number of badges. This is what the badges will look like. This is what the badges will be worth. This is the value of the badges. And then you also put something on the VLE where it's visible to the students that they will have badges at different points. Don't overkill, meaning don't trivialize the badges. So make the badges be valuable. Don't give a badge for every unit test. Don't give a badge for every time a student responds to a forum. It has to be well thought out. You have to be strategic in that. And then, of course, you have to think about whether or not you're going to need any assistance in setting it up. Test it before you open it up to the students, all right? So get a group of other persons or one or two other persons to test it, other students to test it, okay? And then the other thing that I will say, and I say this in just about all my workshops, we are at a point where we are learning, unlearning, and relearning. And so it is technology. It may be something new to you. The whole idea of combining the badge and strategically thinking it through and having all of these things to think about can get overwhelming, but take it one step at a time. It was ambition that killed Caesar. And so I encourage us to take it one little step at a time. Decide that, okay, I'm going to use one badge from unit 1 and get feedback from your student. And based on that, you may decide that the next semester you're going to do 2 badges, or you're going to do 3 badges, and you're going to set up the badges in a tiered system. Okay, so please take it one step at a time. Remember, if the badges does not enhance the teaching and learning process, leave it out. Okay, if you set up a bad class and you add badges to it, it's just a bad class with badges, all right? And so whatever it is you do, think about it in a strategic manner. And I wish you all the very best if you set it up. If you do use it, reach out to Settle so that we can have an idea and get some feedback from your students and collect the data so that you can do some publication, conference, presentation, or something. So thank you very much for listening to me go way over time. But thank you very much for coming and for engaging in the process. And I will be sharing with you, I don't know if Miss Barkley has already, 2 other documents. One, which is a tiered design. So it gives you a template that you can decide how many badges you will have, what the levels will be, what the students have to do before they can progress. So that she will share with you. And then the other one, what was the other one, Miss Barkley? I think I gave you 3. An implementation plan. So if you're going to do this at a unit level or at a faculty level, the plan will help you to think it through. It's not the be all and end all. It's certainly not exhaustive. It was something that I was putting together. So if you have other ideas that you can add to it, please do so. All right. So thank you ever so much for bearing with us, for staying with us, for engaging with us. And thank you very much, Miss Barkley, ever gracious. I want to say thanks for your assistance. And ladies and gentlemen, thank you very much. Do your evaluation, collect your template, and have a good day.